She wore black turtlenecks like Steve Jobs, spoke in an unnaturally deep voice that seemed almost rehearsed, and promised to revolutionize healthcare while saving millions of lives through accessible diagnostics. For years, everyone believed her compelling narrative. Investors threw billions of dollars at her company without demanding proof. Walgreens eagerly put her unproven technology in their stores across America, and major generals joined her board to lend credibility. She became the world's youngest self-made female billionaire at just 29 years old, gracing magazine covers and commanding stages at prestigious conferences. There was just one catastrophic problem that would eventually unravel everything. It was all an elaborate, meticulously constructed lie. This is the story of Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes, and how a $9 billion fraud managed to fool some of the smartest, most experienced people in the world. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest corporate frauds in modern history, a scandal that shook Silicon Valley to its core and exposed the dangerous cult of exceptionalism that allows charismatic founders to operate without proper scrutiny. This isn't just about a failed startup. It's a masterclass in deception and manipulation. In 2003, 19-year-old Elizabeth Holmes was a Stanford sophomore studying chemical engineering with ambitious dreams of changing the world. Following in the footsteps of legendary tech founders who had dropped out to pursue their visions, she made the bold decision to leave Stanford just like Steve Jobs had done, just like Bill Gates before creating Microsoft, and started a company called Real-Time Cures, which she would later rebrand as Theranos, combining therapy and diagnosis. Her pitch was elegantly simple, yet profoundly compelling, addressing a real pain point that millions experienced. Blood testing is fundamentally broken, inefficient, expensive, and unnecessarily painful. Currently, comprehensive blood work requires multiple vials extracted by large needles, days or weeks of anxious waiting, and hundreds or thousands of dollars. But what if instead you could use just a single tiny drop of blood from a finger prick to run hundreds of different diagnostic tests simultaneously, with results in hours at a fraction of traditional prices? This revolutionary technology would democratize healthcare, save countless lives through early disease detection, and fundamentally transform the medical industry. Elizabeth Holmes sold this utopian vision with prophetic fervor, and investors believed her because the story perfectly aligned with Silicon Valley's cherished mythology of young geniuses disrupting established industries. By 2004, she had raised $6 million from impressed venture capitalists. By 2010, that number had skyrocketed to $92 million. The money kept flowing because the narrative was irresistible. Her strategy became particularly brilliant. Instead of recruiting scientists who might ask probing technical questions, she assembled a board that read like a who's who of American political power. George Shultz, former Secretary of State; Henry Kissinger, legendary diplomat and Nobel Prize winner; William Perry, former Secretary of Defense; James Mattis, decorated Marine General, who would later become Secretary of Defense. These weren't tech insiders or biochemists. They were political heavyweights whose presence provided instant credibility. If Henry Kissinger trusted this company, surely it must be legitimate, right? Never mind that none understood the complex biochemistry they were supposedly overseeing. By 2013, riding on carefully cultivated mystique and relentless positive media coverage, Theranos reached a staggering valuation of $9 billion. Elizabeth Holmes, owning approximately half the company's shares, was suddenly worth $4.5 billion on paper. Forbes put her on their cover as the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. She appeared on countless magazine covers, delivered inspiring TED Talks, and spoke at major conferences alongside legitimate innovators, celebrated as the next Steve Jobs. That year, Theranos announced a major partnership with Walgreens to install wellness centers in stores nationwide where patients could walk in, get a finger prick, and receive comprehensive results within hours. It was convenient, affordable, revolutionary. But here's the devastating truth. The technology didn't work, had never worked, and couldn't work given fundamental laws of chemistry and biology. The Edison machine couldn't reliably perform even a fraction of the tests it claimed. A single drop of blood isn't enough volume to run hundreds of tests. Any biochemist knew this. Scientists inside Theranos tried desperately to alert management, but were silenced, fired, or threatened with career-destroying lawsuits. Faced with admitting failure or perpetuating fraud, Theranos chose fraud on a massive scale. They diluted blood samples, compromising accuracy completely. For many tests, they abandoned their technology entirely and secretly used conventional Siemens analyzers, the same machines every normal lab uses. Then pretended results came from their revolutionary device. When demonstrating to investors, they used pre-recorded results or carefully staged shows. The company cultivated a culture of paranoia and fear. Elizabeth Holmes and her boyfriend Sunny Balwani, the company's president, ruled with intimidation tactics. They hired famous lawyer David Boies to aggressively pursue anyone who spoke out. But the truly sinister part, real patients were receiving dangerously wrong results that influenced medical decisions. One woman was incorrectly told she was miscarrying when she wasn't. Patients received inaccurate thyroid results, wrong cholesterol readings, incorrect cancer markers, all putting lives at serious risk because protecting the lie mattered more than protecting patients. Then came John Carreyrou, a tenacious Wall Street Journal investigative journalist who would bring down the empire. In 2015, he started hearing disturbing rumors from multiple sources. Former employees contacted him anonymously, risking brutal legal retaliation, and medical professionals shared concerns. Theranos immediately declared war-threatening massive lawsuits, having David Boies personally intimidate Carreyrou, desperately trying to kill the story before publication. But Carreyrou had meticulously gathered overwhelming evidence from numerous independent sources, and in October 2015, he published his devastating exposé that changed everything. The technology didn't work as advertised, and the company had been systematically deceiving investors, partners, regulators, and most importantly, patients who trusted their health to this technology. The carefully constructed empire collapsed with stunning speed. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services conducted surprise inspections and found serious, systematic deficiencies violating basic safety standards. The Securities and Exchange Commission opened formal fraud investigations. Walgreens, realizing their reputation had been damaged, quickly terminated the partnership and distanced themselves from the scandal. By 2016, Theranos was officially banned from operating any clinical laboratories for a minimum of 2 years, effectively destroying their business model. By 2018, facing mounting lawsuits and criminal charges, the company shut down completely and dissolved. Elizabeth Holmes was formally charged with multiple counts of massive fraud, and after a lengthy trial that captivated the business world, she was convicted in January 2022 on 4 counts of defrauding investors out of hundreds of millions of dollars. In November 2022, a federal judge sentenced her to 11 years in federal prison, marking the definitive end of her reign as Silicon Valley's golden child. So how did this unprecedented deception happen on such a massive scale? Several powerful factors converged perfectly. First, was Silicon Valley's cult of the visionary founder, the seductive belief that charismatic CEOs can achieve the impossible through sheer will, just like Jobs and Musk had done before. But sometimes, impossible things are actually impossible for good scientific reasons. Second was fake it till you make it, taken to criminally dangerous extremes. You cannot fake medical devices without potentially deadly consequences. Third, were investors who failed to demand independent scientific validation, choosing to invest emotionally in the compelling dream rather than rationally in verifiable science. Fourth was Holmes's extraordinary charisma and seemingly authentic conviction, which made questioning her feel almost cruel. Fifth was aggressive legal intimidation that effectively silenced critics even when they knew the truth. The Theranos story remains a cautionary tale about unbridled ambition without ethical constraints, inspiring vision without scientific substance, and the devastating cost of believing too strongly in charismatic leaders who promise to achieve the impossible without proving it first. Elizabeth Holmes is now serving her sentence. Sunny Balwani received nearly 13 years in prison. Investors lost billions of dollars, and patients received dangerous results that could have cost lives. If this video gave you insight into business history's greatest frauds, like and subscribe. See you next time.